I'm kind of sad to say this, but honestly, I do think this is for the best. The Last of Us fans deserve better, and let's face it, The Last of Us 3 would be probably absolutely unreasonably horrible and woke. We know what Neil Druckmann did to The Last of Us 2. We know how bad it is. Honestly, not getting a sequel to whatever lesbian fantasies Ellie currently is up to, and whatever She-Hulk is doing, She-Hulk does. And it's fine. It's fine that we do not get a follow-up of these two individuals probably spitting on Joel's grave because reasons at this point. It's probably for the best. It's a little bit sad that there's no continuation of The Last of Us, but it's also probably the best outcome for being real here. I wish Bethesda did the same with Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5. They just abandoned the idea because they're idiots. But this is a little bit different. Intergalactic is potentially also out. We have already heard long-standing rumors that the development for that game is absolute hell, and I believe it, and I absolutely believe it. Neil Druckmann does not make games. He makes political statements and specific type of propaganda, if you know what I'm saying. In any case, also, it could be that Neil Druckmann is out of Naughty Dog because, let's face it, it's not looking good for him. And there has been a rumor for quite some time like this now, and now it's picking up steam again.
To be honest, I have been sitting on the rumor that we are going to be discussing in this video for a few days. I've been sitting on it, and I didn't bring it up because I've been trying to do some digging into it. I didn't want to bring it up until I had more information because I didn't want to get people all excited for nothing.
Don't give me hope.
The thing is, Neil Druckmann has become one of the most
Hope is the most dangerous of substances, they say.
divisive figures in gaming in recent years, and many of us thoroughly dislike the work that he has done in Naughty Dog. The Last of Us 2 killed off fan favorite Joel and tried to replace him with the Ellie and Abby feud, trying to humanize and get you to like Joel's murderer. Ellie leaves a massive trail of bodies trying to get to Abby, only at the last minute to decide that revenge isn't the answer. Well,
Yeah, it's stupid. And by the way, I would like to say, my opinion is a bit slightly different about The Last of Us 2 and how it played out and whatnot. I don't hate the idea of Joel getting killed by a character that you get to experience and start liking. The problem is that the character's horrible. She-Hulk is horrible. There's nothing to like about her. She's detestable on literally every perceivable level that we can figure out. And so is the new Ellie to a degree, obviously. She's a brat, she's spoiled, she's ungrateful, and she's quite stupid, honestly, most of the time. I don't think the premise of The Last of Us 2, if we completely isolate it from how it was done, I don't think the premise of killing Joel by a character that you would like would be bad. And then you have to deal with the situation that one of the characters that you like is also gonna die, and they die for nothing. I think that would have been actually a really good setup. But Neil Druckmann is an idiot and he cannot write, and so he ruined everything. I think The Last of Us 2 could have been an absolutely amazing story if Neil Druckmann wasn't an absolute loser, that is, and knew how to write things. But he failed. He absolutely failed, and we got garbage.
tell that to the heaps of dead people that you created to get there. But Druckmann's shitty writing did that, and people voiced their displeasure with the second season of The Last
of Us TV show was absolute, pure, unadulterated garbage. I have talked about this much. This is one of the... I don't watch that many shows. I don't watch that many movies. When I watch a show, I pretty much always watch it to the end. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. There are very few shows I dropped, and The Last of Us is one of them. It is just garbage. The way that they portray and make everything is just so stupid. Ellie, for some reason, doesn't know what a clicker is, even though she's born in the apocalypse. Joel acts like an idiot. That's quite obvious. I stopped watching after the gay episode where you saw where they made the base and one of them died. Well, both of them died. I stopped watching after that, even though actually it was probably the best episode that the show had so far. But it was extremely bad. That episode kind of literally just glorifies Minecrafting, which is fucking stupid, obviously. And there were so many things wrong with that episode morally. It's just was pure insanity how fucking messed up it was. But in any case, after that I dropped it. The Last of Us is just a horrible show.
Of a show which was of course based on the second video game, and it bombed hard, and people also voiced their displeasure with the new IP from Naughty Dog, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which they showcased a while ago, but fans dropped a nasty ratio on its trailer. But yet the people at Naughty Dog...
I'll explain how bad Intergalactic is going to be, because it's going to be easily one of the worst things. And if we believe the religious story base that this is on, this is just Neil Druckmann once again shitting on Christianity. Because, oh, it's just a thing, don't worry about it. Ever try doing something wrong? You can't, listen, in The Last of Us, you can't even do anything wrong to Druckmann's choice of what. Okay, you can't. The game literally does not allow you to do bad things to it. But the others, it's fine. And The Last of Us, not The Last of Us, but Interstellar is supposed to be a complete insane dunk on Christianity by Neil Druckmann, of course, because he's just an insane lunatic at this point. And let me explain how bad the writing for this game is going to be, in case you are not aware. Okay? It's very simple. So you have this main character you're going to be playing as, a strong, independent woman who was one of the most notorious pirates in existence. Yes, she had one of the top bounties in the universe. And so, to hide herself and not be found out by the people who are hunting her, she decided to shave her head. Yes. This is the level of writing we're going to be dealing with at Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. One of the literal top 5 most wanted people in the universe shaves her head because no one's going to recognize her suddenly. Oh boy, I cannot wait.
Seem convinced...
Well, I can't wait to not buy this game, honestly. I'm not buying it, obviously.
...that the game is going to sell really well.
And I feel like those same people that were hating are gonna play that game, and guess what? They're gonna love it. So...
Quiet, child. The adults are talking.
Now, I have talked about how much money Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet has likely had pumped into it, considering that it's been in development already for the better part of a decade. And also keep in mind that a live service...
I have no idea, but I'm gonna assume Intergalactic is gonna, at the end, be something like 400 million.
Last of Us game was cancelled despite being reportedly about 80% complete. It was sacrificed at the altar of Intergalactic, which apparently is the big game where most of the studio's resources are being funded.
It's hard to believe this, because a 90% finished game typically doesn't get cancelled, especially if you haven't done anything for 10 years. So it's kind of really questionable. Now, granted, it is a very possible outcome here, because they do have a lot of money from The Last of Us. The Last of Us series as a whole has been very successful. The Last of Us 2 sold 50% less, but I mean, that's to be expected. We already had story leaks for that, and people did not buy it because of it. In any case, there is a chance they did cancel it because they had the money, but I mean, their wallet's drying up at this point.
Into, if you account for this canceled game's budget, Intergalactic likely needs to sell something around 10 million copies to earn back the costs on everything, and that just seems highly, highly unlikely, given the way that the game was received.
Oh.
Oh no.
And that brings me back to this rumor here that Neil Druckmann is potentially getting fired at Naughty Dog. Now, on its face, I don't necessarily believe this rumor is likely, since, for all the reasons I've discussed, it would actually make a lot of sense to move on from this guy who has torched one of PlayStation's biggest studios. And if there is anything we know about PlayStation, the executives at that company make dog shit decisions constantly. Anyways, I wanted more information about this rumor before reporting on it, and I've scoured the internet for an originating source, but I have been unable to find one. Mind you, I don't mind talking about rumors without sources as long as everyone is very clear that it is just a rumor. But we do have a few articles, like this one here, roaming around on the internet, which
I can't really speak too much on this, to be honest, because I do not follow Naughty Dog that much. I follow Bethesda and other stuff. There, it would make sense, but here I'm not willing to guess because I just don't know enough.
I will read in a minute talking about this rumor. One thing is for sure though, whether the rumor ends up being true or not, either way, it's a good thing that Druckmann's potential firing is now a part of the gaming zeitgeist. Because to be clear, until this guy is gone, a lot of us view Naughty Dog through the following lens.
You don't even exist to me!
Now, the thing that I would say makes it possible
Alright,
and likely that Druckmann does get fired is just the extent of time that has passed since they made the game and, all the money that they have lost to not accrued. And, well, that alone wouldn't mean a lot if, the studio still has money from when Sony bought them. And the real problem here is the fact that Sony's currently suffering. The Sony layoffs are also coming, by the way. Not sure if I said that, but Sony is also going to do a lot of layoffs, firings, and studio closures, probably by the end of the year, even maybe. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's coming. It's pretty close. We're probably not even a year away because Sony's situation is slightly better than Xbox, but it's not really a lot better.
Hearties, keep in mind before we read the article discussing the potential
So just from that, something like Naughty Dog that hasn't done anything for 10 years and is almost at the same level of retardation as Bethesda is a very likely candidate to get scrapped or changed or shut down. Shut down in the way that everyone gets fired and replaced.
Druckmann firing that this studio, Naughty Dog, has not released a new game, a brand new game, in about 6 years now, and it sounds like we still likely have another couple of years to go before we will see Intergalactic, the next Naughty Dog game. This decade has been bereft of Naughty Dog content, whereas, for perspective, from the years 2011 through 2020, this same studio pumped out Uncharted 3, The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, Uncharted The Lost Legacy, and The Last of Us 2. This is a studio which, these days, has around 450 developers working for them. A cursory Google search tells us that the average developer salary at the studio is $100,000 per year. That means they are spending about $45 million every year to pay for their development team. And that isn't including the support they get from other studios, mind you.
Support, marketing, outside costs, everything.
It is estimated that the total workforce of Naughty Dog can, at times, scale up to around 1,300 people when factoring in support. But even if we don't count all that, these guys are...
That is way too much. That would be unsustainable with all the money that Naughty Dog has. Last of Us sold well, but it didn't sell that well for this to be like a constant thing. If this has happened, it's like a one-time off thing. That even the 400 developers and 40 mil a year is a little bit probably on the high side. It's probably lower, but then they have outer studio expenses.
Are dropping $45 million per year on dev salaries alone, which means that since the release of The Last of Us 2, they have spent about $270 million with no new game to come out and buoy them. Of course, they do have their old catalog of games which will sell, and they remaster all of their games about twice per year at this.
So the thing is, you don't actually get real developer numbers when you Google these things. As far as I know, you can't really find them unless you're specifically trying to look up name after name after name. But you can't really get full developers, okay? When you look at Naughty Dog and the number 400, not all of them are devs. Probably half of them are devs at best, and everyone else is making probably less than that. Severely, most likely, less than that, in fact. There's all kinds of supporting generalized staff so the company runs. So this is why I don't believe 40 to 45 million a year. It's a little bit much, okay, for just a company function. The company function plus all the outside costs could probably round up to your 40 mil a year, I would say. Hard to really tell. Again, I have not looked at Naughty Dog, but no, most of these companies literally function the same way, so they're kind of interchangeable. That's why I feel confident in saying this most of the time. But, you know, it is roughly like that 40 mil at the very end, I guess. When you've counted in everything, not just, oh, this is normal, but then they have outside expenses. I think 40 also is like the cap that they probably reach in a year. It's hard to say.
Point, I half expect them to remaster the Intergalactic trailer since it's now about a year and a half old anyway. All kidding aside, given these extravagant costs and the embarrassment of riches that the studio has access to with regards to all of the IP that they can work with, I have to think that at least some conversations are being had about the direction of the studio. With that in mind, let's take a look at this article here. This comes to us from the site The Gaming Bible, which I will...
By the way, this scene right here, it just encompasses how poorly The Last of Us 2 is written. Because there's no hesitation, like, you need to understand, he has helped you, treated you, saved you, done so much for you. Joel has done so much. And yet, the moment you figure out that, hey, this dude's just the dude I'm looking for, you just instantaneously just murder and torture him. That is such poor writing. I mean, just that alone makes it that almost no one ever will like She-Hulk. Just that alone. That she instantaneously lets, like, the rage take over. And it's not even the rage. She seems completely calm here. She does this in perfect calmness. No one bats a fucking eye about this. And then like, oh, yeah, let's do this now. It's insanity. This is pure insanity. This is done in the worst way possible. There is no world where anyone likes this. There is no world where a single person actually got to this moment and was like, yeah, I understand why she did it. There's no hesitation, there's nothing. There's just pure psychosis.
Conversations are being had about the direction of the studio. With that in mind, let's take a look at this article here. This comes to us from the site The Gaming Bible, which I will link in the description if you want to read it for yourself in its entirety. But it says, rumors are circulating on social media that raise concerns regarding the future of The Last of Us Part 3 and its creator, Neil Druckmann. Naughty Dog, the original creators of iconic franchises such as Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, and The Last of Us, is one of Sony's most important development studios, and there are high expectations for its latest new IP, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. When it comes to its importance, Naughty Dog sits firmly alongside the likes of PlayStation giants such as Santa Monica, Insomniac, Guerrilla, and Sucker Punch. However, no matter
I don't actually know what Gorilla has done. I have no idea. The PlayStation studios are just kind of really strange.
the rich history, in this day and age, it seems that no studio is safe from the chopping block. Should the Naughty Dog rumors cause genuine concern? Well, that all depends on who or what you want to believe. Recently, content creator Smash JT produced a video reacting to the rumors that Naughty Dog president Neil
Yeah, I thought Smash JT was the originator of this.
Druckmann is on his way out of the studio, thus putting the likes of Intergalactic and The Last of Us 3 into potential jeopardy. And let me just be clear, at this point, Intergalactic and The Last of Us 3 are not going to be in jeopardy. Whether Druckmann is there to inject his soft-ass progressive slant on things or not.
Wait, you know what's wild actually looking now at this? The people who are instantaneously acting like savages, like completely mentally deranged. Like, look at them. They're all a bunch of diverse weirdos, to be honest. Like look at them. You have the typical fucking lib squad right here. All a bunch of fucking leftists, probably, who are secretly, man, we should actually maybe fight for a little bit of the zombies' rights, you know? That type of shit. You know this is it. You can just tell by looking at it. My god. This is just such an indescribable failure. It's pathetic.
Those stories is irrelevant. Sony will make these games happen regardless of who is running that studio. Intergalactic has way too many resources and is way too high profile to get cancelled. And The Last of Us 3 is going to happen at some point or another because it would be beyond retarded not to make it. So, speculation about those games being cancelled does not make sense to me. But reading on, the article says, on the flip side, ex-user Rhino the
Now, granted, I will say, yeah, The Last of Us 3 is probably not really cancelled, but they don't have anything to do with this. Like, what do you do? Yeah, sure, The Last of Us 2 sucked. It was horrible, but all in all, the story is concluded. The Last of Us 3, if it's gonna exist at this point, chances are it's not. Honestly, I shouldn't even call it The Last of Us 3 because it's probably going to be a completely new story just set in the same universe. They're probably gonna obviously not fully ice the Last of Us franchise. It is big. People do like it. It's interesting in a lot of ways. But, I mean, we're not gonna see Ellie outside of a cameo. We're not. It's probably not going to be any character that you even know at this point. It's probably going to be something completely new if it's even happening.
Announcer also reacted to those rumors, particularly with Naughty Dog struggling with the development and financial demands of Intergalactic. However, they also point out that many of these rumors cite no source, which, to be fair, most do not reveal their sources as it would break trust. And then...
Yep, that's kind of obvious, I guess. In any case, that was a Dr. Disaster. 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye!